Whenever I knew something big was happening, I would sometimes say, okay, it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna be asleep. You might wake up and it might hurt, but you'll be fine.
I was in the hospital with Rocket. It was supposed to be an outpatient procedure, and they kept us much longer. They wouldn't let us go home, and at which point I knew something wasn't quite right.
You know, I mean, it wasn't really even in our vernacular that this could be something any more than just a bump on his neck. And I mean, I went to work. It was my birthday. I was at work, and my wife called me.
The infectious disease specialist who was following him came out and basically just said, he's like, well, he has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it just took my breath away, and I called Zach and I said, you gotta come back right now. And our journey began.
We moved him to Boston for treatment because of how rare his cancer was.
And then we just started a rotation.
Yeah.
And Zach and I would be together the 5 days he was in chemotherapy. And then one of us would rotate home for the 8 days he was off of chemo. And the other one would stay with him.
We spent 6 rounds of high-dose, fast and furious chemo that led right into a stem cell transplant. Being across the country gave our kids a little bit of normalcy. It was horrible to be apart as a family, but for them not to have a front row seat and see all the awful.
It worked well, and I do think we were very fortunate to have a little distance for them, because it wasn't an easy process to live through.
31 days in the hospital, 100 days of isolation, and out from that, our boy goes from 65 pounds to 43, and you know, we end up at the Shea Center.
When I first met Rocket, he was about a month out of the hospital, and he was about 30 pounds underweight for his age. He had a line in him for his medication still, and he was very weak. So one of the things I talked to the family about was, you know, what are some of the goals that you're working on? And Rocket came from a family that rode horses, and that was kind of part of their culture. So I knew that would be something that we could connect with. We started doing simple things like what we call developmental vaulting. So we started playing games on the horse and started working on his strength. And within probably, I would say, 2 months, I started seeing really strong improvements with his strength, his ability to sit up, and he just started looking healthier.
A piece of what we didn't realize he had lost was the ability to be social. Living on an iPad, hooked to machines, barely able to move. So all of a sudden he was thrown back into the world, expected to be just a normal kid.
We were trying to figure out what would really motivate Rocket. And because Rocket is such a good rider, and I have to have a lot of different therapy horses here, one of the things we are constantly doing is bringing in new horses. So I challenged Rocket to help me. I said, Rocket, I really need your help training these horses. And because he could sit up there and balance and he knew horses as part of his life, we started doing all sorts of things. So we'd pick the newest horse in the barn, we bring out flags and balls and stuffed animals and shakers and all sorts of different noises, and Rocket was able to help me train these horses for the other kids in our program.
I think Rocket has a great respect for Janelle, because from the beginning, she instilled in him a confidence and a respect because of the way she treated him. She didn't treat him like a sick kid getting better. She looked at him as a rider who just needed to get stronger again.
Shorten your reins and trot. Little shorter reins. There you go. Nice and easy. Look up. Good.
Every small step is an accomplishment, and the most recent have been around school, where he's really made meaningful improvements.
He's heading into 5th grade, and I absolutely see him continuing his involvement at the Shea Center, riding as well as helping other children.
If another child were to come to the Shea Center that had cancer, what advice would you give them?
They're not alone, and they're not the only one in the world that's going through what they're going through. And I would say, don't make it stop you from doing anything. got through. I'm better than I was before cancer. And I'm getting back to school with my friends, and everything's pretty good.